Hi everybody, welcome back to EPiX Spotlight. I'm Andy Canode, and this is the show where we put a little light on some of the wonderful people and things that are going on here in our community. And today we have a very special guest. We have Zebulon Thomas with ZT Films, who just recently partnered with Main Street Medina to produce a mini film featuring all the places and people that you know here in the community called Where the Past Meets Future. Well, I'm excited for the opportunity to sit down and talk with you in some detail about this project. I saw the film recently, and it's fantastic, and it really puts Medina in a great perspective. So I guess let's start with just kind of taking us back to the beginning. How did this all start? How did you get involved? What was the process early on?
I've been doing productions on the square in Medina for a few years now. Did the Ebenezer Scrooge video, which hit pretty big. I did some soccer girls videos where they run around kicking a soccer ball, which was really cool. So I guess from what I hear is the board got together and they were looking for some kind of video to expand their region and show people what they're trying to do. And so some people had brought up on the board about, what about this guy who does this video? And someone else said, well, I like this video from what I understand. And they were both my videos. They were talking about me. And then Jeremy Levine was running the Main Street Medina at the time. And he got a hold of me, and I met him for the first time at Cool Beans Cafe in Medina. And we had a meeting, and it was really awesome because we were just talking about all the things that we can accomplish in Medina. And it wasn't like a set of like, here's what we want. It was like, here's what we're looking to do, but we want you to be creative and we're gonna take your lead on this because we love all the videos you've done.
So from that initial meeting, how did this concept or this idea of tying it into like a Back to the Future theme, how did that come about?
The original video concept was just to shoot a destination style where kind of like what you saw with Main Street's video that I delivered for them at the same time. There was like, it just showed the farmer's market, it showed Pizza Palooza, and it was supposed to be like that and then thrown in with some interviews. But I felt that was very stale and very stable, like everyone's just going to stand there and do their interview. So I was trying to figure that out, but then we didn't, it's not like we just said Back to the Future, we love that. It was like, I think I brought up how like the square looks a lot like Back to the Future, like, with the clock tower. It just always reminded me of that, even as a little kid. So when I brought that up, I think Jeremy just saw that and a light bulb went off and he ran with it. Jeremy led a lot of this shoot, besides the fact that every time I was filming with him, I was like, run, like just run. So he had these like bright white Nikes. We were like trying not to get them dirty, and I was like, just run everywhere we went, just run. So that was his thing. He just ran. And if you watch the video, he only has one speaking part. Originally, he had no speaking parts. Oh, okay. And it's funny because we didn't even talk about his dialogue. We were just like, we're just going to shoot, and that's it. We never scripted any of it. So we left that meeting, and then afterwards, I was like, okay, if we're going to get this started, we're going to make this legit. I need a DeLorean. I want a DeLorean in the shot. We're going to start with that because, I think big. And he called me back like a day later and says, we got your DeLorean. And I was like, oh, we're in production. like that was it. Like nothing was signed yet. Like we're in production. So I have to imagine it's pretty daunting to tackle a film of this scale in such a small window of time. How do you navigate that? How do you break that down? Where do you start? How do you piece all this together? It was kind of like all my other YouTube videos, and that was just focusing on that first 15, 30 seconds at most. You really don't even want to go past 30. And that first 15, 30 seconds is supposed to get the viewer to say, what is this I'm about to watch? Like they're engaged, they don't know what it is. And then once that reveals in that last part, they go, oh, this is what it's going to be. And it keeps them engaged. A lot of people they take too long to build up, or they don't build up. I want to make sure they feel like they're part of it.
The traveler arrives to a quaint town square somewhere in time. He steps out amazed by this newfound location.
And from what I understand, you're really pretty much a one-man band. You show up on set by yourself with your gear in a backpack. So walk us through some of the gear or the tools that you use to do a film like this.
The number one thing when I go out, I grab this thing, it's called a glide cam. This is all I need because this is how when I saw this very early on YouTube, I was like, how do they get the stable shots? And I was like, I love those shots. I want that. And this whole rig right here is what launched my career, because if it wasn't for this, I wouldn't be doing video. I was so excited about making something look cinematic. And what this thing does is it keeps everything stable. And so I can run after you with this thing, and the shot will be smooth. Now, it's not as easy as it looks. I mean, it takes some time. You gotta use your tool and craft it. But so like with the Back to the Future shoot, the whole thing was shot with this. But I was running around the square chasing the DeLorean, which that was an insane thing to do, because I'm like, yeah, I had this idea. I'm like, yeah, you drive, I'm gonna run. This is gonna be great. It's gonna look good. I get like the first part of the square, I'm like, out of breath. I'm like, can we slow it down a little bit? Maybe go 4 miles per hour. I'll speed it up, you know?
Making his way around, he discovers an incredibly charming place full of welcoming people, amazing finds, and unexpected events.
Now I understand also that GlideCam named you one of 3 GlideCam masters in the entire world. First of all, congratulations, that must be a huge honor, but also, what exactly does that mean, and how does the selection process for that go?
Collectively, they look at all the footage that is out there. They handpicked certain people to be GlideCam masters, and I actually was one of them, and this just recently happened as of January, and so I was really excited about that, and then they gifted me the GlideCam Devin Graham series, which is Devin Graham is one of those GlideCam masters, which I was really excited about because he's someone that I learned from early on, and I idolize him, and now I sit basically with him.
That's a new record!
For years, I followed in Devin Supertramp's footsteps, not because I wanted to, but because I was learning from him personally and professionally, like watching him from a distance and then having conversations with him on the phone or through email or just through YouTube videos, going to one of his shoots. I don't know if you know much about this guy, but he's awesome. He's the founder of, like, I would say, really getting the GlideCam exposure. So, I got to go work with him on Mountain Dew, and I learned a lot there. But I was always find myself following, and then one day 2 years ago, I just accidentally stumbled on a shoot that just didn't work out, and I kept working it, and it challenged me to do something different, and then I found my niche. And so now, instead of following, I find myself leading this whole new road. That's a great title. That's awesome. It's exciting, and that just lets me know personally, and that's really all it is. It doesn't really hold like I'm not holding a championship belt. What it really does is let me know that I'm doing something really good with something, and it's a milestone. I'm very happy that GlideCam has seen me now, and they see that and recognize me. So we're doing a lot with them, but again, with this Main Street Medina video, where the past meets future, I was super excited about that because that was a video that I was pushing the best cinematics, the best GlideCam work in.
Having done other films on the square and that, what were some of the challenges with this film in particular, and maybe some of the surprises along the way as you went through production on this?
The most surprising part was all the hidden gems that I thought I knew in Medina that I didn't, AI Route, like had a lot of cool places we could film in there. Some of the back alleys were really cool. Actually just meeting a lot of the business owners that I never had the opportunity to meet because our schedules were so crazy. And then this forced us to like sit down in front of each other. I was really just even more surprised just how easy it is to go in and out of the businesses with the right heads up, and they're open. The challenging part about this video, I would say, when I realized we didn't have an ending, and when I realized that this production might not come out, I wanted to see this through, and I'm very passionate. And to me, I'm concerned about what I wanted to portray for Medina, and that had to come out. I couldn't just let this one. We put in 95% of the work already. So then it was like probably 2-3 months of no production and not knowing what we were gonna do. And then all of a sudden I was like, Matt came back, started talking to me about some things. Jeremy, Matt came together and worked together, which was really awesome. And then our first scene back was the AI Route scene. So Matt and Jeremy had never met until that day on camera. But when we shot the film, Matt was the only one talking, and Jeremy still had no line. So when you watch the video, Jeremy actually says thank you. We added that in later because after Jeremy watched this, he's like, listen, I want to put this out there because this is how I really love Medina, and this is like my goodbye letter, sincerely, and it's been a great ride. So I said, yeah, let's do it that way. So that's his only verbiage in the whole video is thank you. And so when I shot Jeremy holding the candle, if you look at the candles, they're the colors of Medina. The rest of the film is Jeremy just like having fun and finishing up. It was actually, without that happening, I don't think this production would be as good as it is. And the alternate ending before that, I was trying to figure out, and I had this bunch of extra clips of the DeLorean driving down Main Street, and I thought, well, maybe I went and bought some CGI programs, and I was going to have the DeLorean like take off, and when I did the render, I was like, oh, I got a lot of years to work on this. It just wasn't looking right, you know. So everything I do, the reason it's not just because I have creative ideas, I have creative angles, and I can work my butt off with a camera. That's all self-taught, but what I'm learning is everybody else is self-taught in different ways. So when I'm doing videos like this, it's the collective creative. It's other people putting in their pieces that make this whole thing bigger. If this was just me alone and Jeremy didn't put input, and Matt didn't have input, and Main Street didn't have input, and all the local businesses didn't reach out, this video really wouldn't be anything besides just me running around. You know what I'm saying? You know,
So this film is on YouTube now. It's on the Main Street Medina YouTube page. So what's the goal from here? What happens with the film, and what do you hope to see happen with the Main Street Medina page or Main Street Medina in general?
The goal is that myself and a bunch of other collective creative people are going to deliver content for that channel, for their own exposure, for Main Street, and to help raise money as a nonprofit organization through YouTube. So you have these big companies that are paying advertisement in the US or everywhere, worldwide for that matter. They're gonna place ads on these videos. All we have to do is watch them. That generates a revenue for Main Street. That money then trickles out in the community. And that is the structure in the future. That's just one of the things I'm trying to do with Medina. The other big thing is Hollywood. I see Hollywood coming to Cleveland and all these other places, and they're shooting these blockbuster hits. Medina is so perfect for, you know, your novel, your romance, your action. There's so much here. And so going into this, one of the biggest things on the conversation was, why do we want this production here? On their end, they wanted to showcase businesses. My end was like, I want to get Hollywood to look at this. So let's shut down streets. So when the people are looking for places to film, they'll see all these little things we've done from the community, and they'll say, oh, well, they work really well with people. They shut down a street for this guy. Why wouldn't they shut it down for us, you know? So my hope is to continue to do that so that Hollywood sees us, because if a blockbuster film came here, that's going to boost the economy.
And what about you? What's next for you? Are you looking to tackle bigger clients? You want to do more videos like this here in Medina? What's next for you, and how do people get a hold of you?
It doesn't matter if you're the Mountain Dew or if you're the Cool Beans, you know. It doesn't matter how big your company is. To me, the outcome is this: can I add massive value to you through my lens? And if the answer is yes, then we're doing a production. The fastest way to find me is to look up #ZTFilms on Instagram or YouTube or even on Google. But if you want to be specific, go to ZebulonThomasFilms.com, and you'll find all my links that way. But I would highly encourage, since we're doing this interview about Medina, is to please, please, please go subscribe to the Main Street Medina's YouTube channel. The links are actually below, in the description below the main video that I did. So if you're having trouble finding that channel, because they're still new, so they don't have a URL yet. So once we get over 100 subscribers for them, then they can get the URL. So let's blast out 100 of you guys to just subscribe to the channel so that we can get them a URL. And then continue to, if you have an idea for the Main Street video, a video for Main Street in their YouTube channel, go talk to Matt. Do a proposal, tell him what your idea is, and get it out there, and you can also have your feature on this channel and get exposure. So people get caught up in how it's going to work instead of just doing. Same with videographers. I feel like they go out there and like, well, how are we going to structure this script? Just go out in the woods and start shooting. You know what I mean? Like, just just do something awesome, and it'll come to you.
Well, thank you again, Zebulon, for sitting down and talking with us a little bit and sharing with us the inside look or behind the scenes of where the past meets future. I got a chance to see this not too long ago, and it's fantastic. I really enjoyed it, and I really felt like it put a good perspective or good overview of Medina in general. So for all of you out there, if you haven't had a chance yet to see this film, you've got to check it out, Where the Past Meets Future. You can find it on YouTube, either through Zebulon Thomas's YouTube page or the Main Street Medina page. And while you're on there, please hit subscribe to the Main Street Medina page. As Zebulon mentioned, there's a lot more content that is coming its way. And if you have any ideas for types of videos or programs that you would like to see on that page, then contact the folks at Main Street Medina. They would love to hear from you and love to hear more of these ideas. We need more people like Zebulon to be sharing this vision and love and view of our hometown here in Medina. From all of us here at Entertainment Picks, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.